My name is Makoma Lekalakala, as I was introduced. I'm from an organization called Life Africa, and we are based in Johannesburg. This documentary is called Joseph Gold, and it follows the work of one of the activists that are trying to challenge uranium mining in the country. The name is Mariette Liefling. I live in Johannesburg, and Johannesburg, according to the documentary, it says that it's one of the most polluted cities or the most radioactive cities in the world. So you could see what happens, dust, uranium spilling, dust when it's dusty periods going into the shops, into your homes, and a lot of people are affected by that. But in the words of Mariette Liefling, we can't be silent on these matters. We have to speak out. And that's why it is important that I'm part of the launching of Uranium Atlas, because this atlas exposes exactly what happens in different countries. It goes through uranium mining facts and data in different continents of the planet. And in those different planets, in those different continents, people have the same impact, the same problems are being encountered everywhere where there's uranium mining. But what is more happening, what is really very not nice, is that regulatory frameworks in these countries are there, but companies are acting in impunity. So failure of duty on multinational corporations, companies, it's not there. And it's just unfortunate that some of the companies originate from South Africa or are South African-based companies. Companies like your Anglo Gold, your Rand Gold, most of them have got offices around Johannesburg, and they do business in Africa, they do business in other continents. So it's kind of, for us, it says we have to speak out. We don't have to be complicit to what is happening around the world. I have some posters here, I'm not sure where they are. Okay. What we have realized is that there's so much that is happening, and that is happening with the companies not acting without impunity. We have realized that in Namibia there's open cast mining, and in Zambia there's also open cast mining in Niger, and this open cast mining comes up, has got a lot of negative impacts on people around there. So we find that there's more water pollution, air pollution, and the radioactivity in those particular areas doesn't just stay. If it's in Namibia, it doesn't just stay in Namibia, it will always spill to Angola, it will always spill to Botswana and the neighboring countries. So from EarthLife, from the organization, from the kind of work that we do, we are saying that we are under threat. And being under threat, we are under threat of uranium mining, we are under threat of nuclear reactors, we are under threat of nuclear weapons, we are under threat on nuclear waste. So for us, it's not just uranium mining or nuclear power station, because all these are interlinked, and these are interlinked to the destruction of Mother Earth, or to destroying nature around us. And that destruction of nature around us would mean that all of us have got to do something. We know that nuclear started in the war area. So around during the First World War and the Second World War, and it's all linked to destruction, it's all linked to war. So for us, if we stop uranium mining, we are stopping the construction of nuclear reactors. We actually are stopping the manufacturing of nuclear weapons. And also, we are saying that we cannot afford to have nuclear waste that is going to be radioactive for hundreds and thousands of years. So that's why, as activists, as members of the community, as people who are protecting our territories, are saying we don't want nuclear out of Africa, we need to keep nukes out of Africa. And this is a concerted struggle. People in different countries are standing up and saying we cannot have nuclear in Africa, take out the nukes in Africa. This is a protest in Johannesburg where members of Earthlife and partner organizations were going to a Department of Environment, Department of Energy in the country and saying we don't want nukes in Africa. That was at a time when South Africa was advocating to build new nuclear reactors. We know that uranium mining causes unavoidable contamination of the environment, and this is something that we cannot really take as what we want. We don't want our environment to be destroyed, because that's where we live from, that's where we eat from, we have to plant crops, that's where we have water from, and that's where life has got to be protected. And so these are some of the impacts, the health impacts of uranium mining. I think they have been, although I don't understand German very well, but I think this was also said that uranium mining causes the health impacts to uranium mining, particularly on human, it's worse and animals. So this is something that we cannot afford. And in many times, the companies that are linked to this health impact, to exacerbating this health impact, are always in denial. And them in denial, they're operating in impunity in our countries because of weak governance that we have, and also that the regulatory frameworks in our country are not that strong. They're very weak, they are captured. So we understand that uranium mining is a threat to African people and nature. In countries like the Democratic Republic of Congo, we don't really know what is happening because of continuous conflicts in that country. So you may find that every time you want to go there, there's no life, the water is polluted, people cannot plant crops, and people may be struggling to breathe because of the Democratic Republic of Congo. It's said that it's got all the kind of minerals you can think of in this world, and because of the continuous conflict in that country, that would mean regulatory frameworks are very weak, and there's companies are also acting without impunity. So some of the stuff that happens in areas where there's mining, sometimes it's not only uranium mining, it's gold mining, it's platinum mining, all sorts of mining, but uranium comes out as one of the most dangerous kinds of mining because it's linked to war. In some of the places, you find that people are subjected to drink that kind of water. That is water from the streams or water from the taps, because the water is contaminated and mining is done recklessly. Though I believe there's no safe mining, but it's done recklessly in a sense that people are subjected to drinking water that is very highly contaminated, that is very dirty. This is some of the pictures that we observe, we see every day in different parts where there's mining. And imagine if this dust is coming from the lorry, what happens, the route that the lorry has got to travel, that would mean all that area, there would be residues, the air would be contaminated, and the air would be dirty, so people would continuously inhale the dangerous concoction of substances that come from this kind of dust. So for us, we had committed ourselves to say we're not going to allow uranium mining to take place. We're not going to allow waste to be dumped in our shores. We're not going to find ourselves in a space where we become complicit of destruction of the environment and our future. We would not allow that in Sudan becomes a dumping ground for nuclear waste. We would not allow that Namibia becomes, the open pit mines in Namibia continuously become like that, because it's quite important that the area around there be protected. It's a very beautiful desert area that if you visit it, it's breathtaking. You want to go there continuously and continuously, but if uranium mining continues, you won't be able to get there, and actually you'd be warned that don't go to the Namibia because of that. In Tanzania, uranium mining was halted, And it's through civil society organizations coming together, ordinary people saying we cannot allow this to happen, particularly next to the rivers that we get water from for our crops, water from for drinking, water from for cooking and doing all the other stuff. But it was not just about water, it was more about people's livelihood and protecting the environment. In Niger, where there's also open pit mining, people had said when the mining came, because they didn't know, they didn't have a free prior informed consent of what is that has got to happen. So they saw mining as a blessing, like in all the other parts of Africa, where when mining comes, whether it's coal, whether it's uranium, whether it's gold, platinum, we we are saying we are blessed, our land is rich. But because we don't get free prior informed consent, we only react after mining has taken place, when we see what's happening around us. So people in Niger thought it was a blessing. Unfortunately, now it's a curse, because people experience very funny diseases, as they say, because leukemia was not one of the diseases that were familiar. Cancers were not there. People eat healthy, organically. But when this kind of responses come through mining, then they realize that this was a curse. It's not really something that they were looking forward to and thinking that this would be of benefit to them. But however, it's not that we are just against nuclear energy. We are against uranium mining. We are against waste. There are alternatives that are there. And Africa is well endowed with the sun. And in the shore areas, coastal areas, there's a lot of, at least I'm mentioning two, but there are other forms of generating electricity in Africa, and these are totally ignored. There's no political will from the governments, there's no political will from the politicians to invest in the alternatives that are less carbon intensive, the alternatives that would not, or would have kind of a zero harm to the environment, or less harm to the environment. So for us, we're saying renewable energy is people's power, and if we have renewable energy as an alternative, we can be able to stop uranium mining, we can be able to save people's lives, we will protect our water, protect our air, protect our lands, and live happily ever after without destroying the environment, and also making sure that future generations benefit from that. Thank you.